Kirk Cousins going to Atlanta, a 4-year, $180 million deal.
Kirk Cousins is not just like the Falcons' best hope at quarterback. He was really their only hope at quarterback this year. Dude, this is so awesome for Drake London. I think that Drake London is in that caliber of wide receiver.
Look at the release.
There's your separation.
Great route.
Stutter and go. Gets by clean.
That is unbelievable.
May be the greatest catch I've ever seen.
Yeah, you talk about some of these quarterback moves. Obviously, none bigger than Kirk Cousins going to Atlanta, a 4-year, $180 million deal. We're talking $45 million per year for Kirk Cousins. $100 million of this is guaranteed, by the way. There is a reason why Kirk Cousins is called the bag king. Okay, he is the absolute bag king. He does it again, Matt Harmon. He's going to be 36 years old, coming off of a major Achilles injury. I mean, I swear to God, I don't even know if he's going to be ready for the start of the season. He tore his Achilles in late October, man. I mean, 30 at this age, I don't know. Anyways, very impressed with the bag king. But people obviously in Atlanta are going to be very excited, I think, to bring in Kirk Cousins. At whatever point he's ready to play. Should be a boost for the offense regardless. A big uptick in the quarterback play. And again, they get Arthur Smith out of there and hopefully get some functional NFL head coaching experience there as well. So I don't know. What are your thoughts on Kirk Cousins going to the ATL?
Yeah, the way that this was kind of spoken about was that Atlanta was going to do whatever they needed to do to make this happen. Which makes sense for a couple different reasons. One, because Atlanta was too good last year to be in the market for one of these top-level prospects. And I think if you look at the talent on the roster, that was probably going to be the case, next year, that they could be around a 7-win team. They'd be picking, 8th, 9th, 10th the draft. They picked like 8th in the draft for 2 straight years now, or 3 straight years now, because Bijan was the 8th pick, Drake London was the 8th pick. They're picking 8th this year. I think they'd probably be around that 8, 9, 10 range again this year if they just had, any old goofball playing quarterback for them, because
right.
I think they have a pretty talented roster here. I mean, we do have to realize that, like, Desmond Ridder and Marcus Mariota, each of the last 2 years, have legitimately given the Falcons league worst quarterback play, in my opinion. Coaching staff, I do think, should be a pretty big uptick here. Raheem Morris is extremely well regarded. Zach Robinson, I think, is going to bring a lot of the stuff from the Rams, which really that works with the meta of the NFL right now. Raheem Morris also has familiarity with Kirk Cousins dating back to their Washington days. Kirk Cousins also has a lot of familiarity with what I think Zach Robinson is going to want to do schematically because of what Kevin O'Connell asked him to do in Minnesota, another guy off of this Rams tree. And really, like, bottom line, because they weren't going to have somebody in the draft, like, Kirk Cousins is the only guy on the market that's shown you over multiple seasons that he can give you above replacement level quarterback play. So, like, right. the reality here, James, is that Kirk Cousins is not just like the Falcons' best hope at quarterback. He was really their only hope at quarterback this year. So all risks aside, and you're right, he's not a guy that comes with a risk-free profile here. Right. I do think this was a move they felt and justifiably felt that they had to make.
The Falcons threw to wide receivers the fewest in the NFL, 209 pass attempts to wide receivers last year in 2023. The second lowest was the Chicago Bears at 259. So they had 50 more pass attempts to wide receivers than the Atlanta Falcons. So the Falcons not only, and we've talked about this a lot, man, not only did they need to address quarterback, they needed to address wide receiver as well. But no doubt this is a boon to Drake London, who, again, probably going to be getting functional quarterback play here from Kirk Cousins, and most likely, almost assuredly, I think, an uptick in volume, at least in quality looks going into 2024.
Oh, yeah, no question. Again, like, think whatever you want of Kirk Cousins. I think he's been around so much. He's played so much at this point that he's going to give you – he's just seen everything. He's played in so many offenses. He's really adept at the things that I think you need to be adept at quarterback to play with Kirk Cousins, to play with Drake London. He's a guy that's going to throw in a tight coverage. He's going to trust wide receivers. Justin Jefferson, I had a conversation with him a couple years ago now at this point that him and Kirk really, really worked on the just kind of like, hey, even when I'm covered, man, like just rip it to me and like good things are going to happen. And that was something that wasn't like Kirk hasn't always been willing to do, but here at the later part of his career, he's really evolved at that with a guy like Justin Jefferson. I mean, look, Drake London is not Justin Jefferson. I think he's extremely talented, but I think that they can build that trust and that rapport over time. And secondly, like Kirk Cousins loves to work that middle of the field. That's where he wants to throw. That's where he wants to operate. And Drake London, when you look at the routes that he's really successful on, he's really successful on in-breaking routes, digs, crossers, slants, these big post routes. So he has a guy that he can trust in tight coverage in Drake London because he can win those contested passes. He can play X receiver on the line, working in those tight boundary situations. But he's also a guy that can work the preferred areas where Cousins likes to throw. So, yeah, it just makes perfect sense. James, can you actually name any current Falcons wide receiver other than Drake London? Yeah, I'm sure you can. It's Austin Mack, Chris Blair, and Josh Ali.
Who?
Right.
Who?
I mean,
who is Chris Blair? Who are these
I don't know.
guys?
I don't know. So that is definitely an area to watch too. Like, and now that you have, we're just gonna call it a grown-up offense, okay? Like that's what they're gonna be running this year, like with a real quarterback and like a scheme that we don't know exactly what they're gonna run, but it's probably gonna come off of the typical Shanahan McVay type stuff. We'll see if Zach Robinson like has the goods as a play caller, all that stuff, like. Now that we're talking about a grown-up offense here with good quarterback play, like we don't have to worry about, oh man, like let's hope Drake London could slice off a good target share here. Like no, forget about that. Like you can go out now and in the draft, like maybe take a wide receiver. You can push this thing, I think, to the next level here because you have that baseline floor built in with coach likely and quarterback pairing. Dude, this is so awesome for Drake London. I mean, look, the reality is this is a guy that, like I said, has played with bottom barrel quarterbacks in each of his first two seasons. Like put him, he was right on that, like Allen Robinson, Terry McLaurin, DJ Moore, like all of those guys that we've all, bemoaned for years. Like, God, when is it just going to happen for these guys? They're obviously good players. Like, I think that Drake London is in that caliber of wide receiver. We're talking about in their peak. I think McLaurin and Moore are still kind of in their peak seasons, but obviously Robinson, when he was at his peak, these are guys that were high quality X receivers that could separate at all three levels, that could run routes, that could get off press coverage, could do all the things that you want in a number one star caliber wide receiver. There's nothing when I watch Drake London and think like, look, there are still obviously, of course, areas that you're a young player, you can improve or whatever. But there's nothing where I see like there's a limitation on this guy because he can't do X. I think that when you look at Drake London, he has all the skills, all the traits, all the talents necessary to be like a true superstar type number one receiver. And I mean, when I watch him, I don't see anything that's limiting him. Of course, it's just the production, it's the quarterback, and I mean, for Kirk Cousins to get dropped in. Like, and again, Kirk Cousins not a flawless, not like there are risks here with Cousins because of the injury, all that. But if Cousins is anything close to the player that he's been the last 2 years in Minnesota, when they haven't been running this I think people don't realize with Cousins and Kevin O'Connell, like they've been running like real drop back, like quarterback centric type stuff, not the cookie cutter. Play
Mike Zimmer type stuff, yeah.
Not the boomer ball Mike Zimmer type stuff. They've been running like real drop back quarterback stuff. And if Cousins is anywhere close to that player, like you can't ask for a guy that is better suited to drop in here and elevate a young ascending wide receiver like Drake London. So like, man, for anybody holding Drake London bags in Dynasty, for anybody that's just like loves to see good players cash it, baby, cash it. Yeah, I mean we're feeling really good here.